Good day and welcome to another episode of Drew's Book Reviews. I'm about to livewire your brain. Alright, and welcome to Drew's Book Reviews. So, today we're going to talk about Livewired by David Eagleman. Now, before we get into the video review of this awesome book about your brain, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, make sure that you leave a comment down below, and you can join me over on my Discord. We can have a great chat about all things science fiction, fantasy, non-fiction, whatever you want. TV shows, movies, sports, whatever. Just join me on the Discord. Also, you can follow me on my Bookstagram as well. Alright, so let's get into it. Livewired by David Eagleman. This is October's non-fiction read this month, and I have to say I am impressed. I actually heard about David Eagleman from a viewer, and I have to say it is a book that I am really enjoying. Well, not enjoying, I enjoyed it. It was a fantastic read. Neuroscience is certainly an area that I have had some interest in, although most of my non-fiction reads seem to come primarily from people like Brian Greene, which are fantastic writers, absolutely. But it tends to focus more on the, cosmology and quantum physics, so I wanted to get into something a little bit different. So I picked up David Eagleman's Livewired, the inside story of the ever-changing brain. And I can tell you, I learned a lot about our brains, how they work, and things that you might not even think is possible. For example, living with literally half a brain and still being able to live a normal life. So something you wouldn't think is possible. David Eagleman gets into the intricacies of just how adaptable our brains are with a situation like literally living with half a brain. One story he told about a child who had half a brain. For me, I could definitely relate to this child's condition. He was born with epilepsy, having a crazy amount of seizures all the time, constantly, to the point where these seizures were potentially going to kill him. And so his parents were faced with a very difficult choice. He could either have brain surgery and remove half of his brain, and he might die, or he could keep having seizures and definitely will die. So for someone who was born with epilepsy, who's experienced those seizures myself, I could definitely relate to that individual's circumstances. I can understand what they were going through when they were having a seizure, because I've been there. And so that was a very relatable story that was told within this book when talking about the neuroscience of our brains and how they work. So this boy did recover from having half his brain removed. He learned how to use his other half of his brain as a full brain. He eventually grew up, got a job, went to college, and it's just amazing the plasticity that our brains exhibit within our bodies. It's just fascinating the way that they work. One of the things that Eagleman is fond of saying within this book is neurons that fire together, wire together. And the way he describes our brain as being kind of this empty shell with everything ready to go, but just waiting for the input from the external world in order to formulate those pathways, and how our brains will rewire to adapt for lost senses, which is another aspect that he touched on, this idea that the blind have better hearing, or the deaf have better sight, because our brains will effectively take over those parts of our brain that are normally tuned to that sensory input and bring it back, so that other senses actually take over and become enhanced as a result. And I just thought that was a really cool thing that he describes within this book. And it just really is amazing just how effective our brains are at wiring to the input and data that we receive from the world around us. And our brains are constantly changing. What he's also fond of saying is we are not the same person now as we were a few moments ago, or even yesterday, or the day before, or the year before, because our brains are in a constant state of being wired and rewired and adjusted to meet the criteria of the input we're receiving from the world, which is a pretty cool thing in and of itself. And one question that a lot of people ask is, why do we dream? Well, David Eagleman has a fascinating theory about why we dream, and I really like the theory that he puts forth in this that actually has to do with the night and day cycle. The idea being that our dreams are designed to keep our visual cortex active at night in order to hold off the invasion from our other sensory inputs taking over that part of our brain when we're deprived of our vision at night, essentially, which is a really cool theory. I never even thought about that before, but it really is an awesome theory. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm sure everybody at some point has asked the question, why do we dream? Eagleman's way of describing things going on within our brain, the way he basically talks about the science, communicates the science behind this, is in a way that's easy to understand and flows naturally to the reader. So definitely, if you're not someone who really wants that overly technical explanation of how things work, David Eagleman is a great source for that, especially if you're into neuroscience and brain science. Eagleman does a really good job of communicating these ideas. The fascinating thing is we don't know a lot about the brain in and of itself. There is still so much more to learn, and we just don't know about it. But what we do know is just amazing. It really is a great read. And if you're into neuroscience, I highly recommend checking out David Eagleman's Livewired, Inside the Ever-Changing Brain. Fantastic read, highly recommended. I'm probably going to pick up more David Eagleman at some point just because I enjoyed this book so much. So definitely go check that out. I absolutely loved it, and I know you will too, especially if you're into the whole neuroscience and nonfiction and learning more about that. So those are my thoughts on David Eagleman's Livewired. And I can tell you, you are now a different person for having watched this video, because this video live-wired your brain to learn more about the brain. Anyway, as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed this video. And as always, join me on the Discord, join me on my Bookstagram, and until next time, keep on reading. Bye!